Friends, you remember the night that Jesus was betrayed? The Pharisees and the soldiers, they came to arrest him, and right as they were about to take him into custody, Peter, the author of this letter, he took out his sword and he cut off the ear of the high priest's servant. And you remember what Jesus said? Peter, don't retaliate. Put your sword away. And then the guards, they took Jesus and they brought him before the council, and the council insulted him and lied about him and mocked him. You remember what Jesus did? He just stood there. And then the guards, they took him outside and they beat him and they flogged him and they whipped him and they mocked him. You remember what Jesus did? He stood there and looked at the people who were beating him, and he said absolutely nothing. And then finally they took him out to a place called Golgotha, and they nailed him to a cross. And as he hung there on that cross, you remember what the people said? Hey, Jesus, if you're the King of the Jews, save yourself. They mocked him. They made fun of him. You remember what Jesus said? He said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Now, friends, imagine for a moment that you're Peter, and you've either seen these things firsthand or you've heard about them from other disciples. I mean, at some point you've got to be thinking, hold on a second, Jesus, what are you doing? Fight back. You're the Messiah. You're the Son of God. Don't let these people do these things to you. Put them in their place. And yet there he was, hanging on a cross, the only person in the history of the world to never seek revenge. You see, as Peter is pointing out in his letter, as followers of Jesus, we follow a Savior who does not seek revenge. And therefore, as he points out in verse 21, we are to follow his example. In other words, when it comes to revenge, you and I, we are called to give it